political correctness is American and Western liberals' the best cultural weapon. And under the arsenal of political correctness, they have cancel culture, they have Me Too movement, they have gender politics, they have critical race theory. These are all weapons in the arsenal of political correctness. These are all tactics that they use in order to silence people, in order to silence their critics, and to defeat their political opponents. Cancel culture is the best tactic so far under the umbrella of political correctness. Why? Because we all know that American Democrats and liberals are so adept at exploiting people's emotion, race, and culture. Okay? They are expert in gaslighting. If they can gaslight a nation, they can gaslight the whole world. And that's what they're doing with this presidency of creepy Joe Biden. So this time we will be I'll be identifying why. Why the hell nobody would like to help. So I prepared this list. So I'll be discussing them one by one. So the main reason is, again, political correctness, but there are sub-categories or sub-reasons as to why nobody would like to help Asians. So one of them is American Democrats and liberals' race-based rhetoric and policies. Okay? We all know that American Democrats and liberals are so obsessed with race, and that's the reason why they are using blocks in order to win elections. Okay, race-based politics. And in this race-based politics, Asian is one of the main victims. So part of which is affirmative action. Affirmative action. Okay? There is systemic racism in America. And we've seen so far how American politicians and fake news, American politicians like AOC or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Pelosi, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, were claiming that there is systemic racism. And in fact, Vice President Kamala Harris just said just a few hours ago after the guilty verdict against Derek Chauvin that there is systemic racism in America, because there is actually systemic racism in America, and that is racism implemented and being perpetrated by American Democrats and liberals. The problem is American GOP and Republicans don't know how to answer or how to rebut these libelous accusations by American Democrats. When American Democrats claim that there is systemic racism in America, what do these Republicans do? They are going to answer like they're being attacked. They are being so defensive. Because if they know what they're doing, I would tell these liberals that yes, there is systemic racism in America, and that is racism being implemented and perpetrated by you. One of the examples of systemic racism by American Democrats and liberals is affirmative action. Okay? Affirmative action. A lot of Democrats don't know this because, your regular Democrat voter or liberal would simply know nothing. Okay? Because if they did their research, they would find out that affirmative action is a manipulative, deceptive policy being implemented and championed by American Democrats and liberals in order to attract black votes. But while they're trying to attract black votes, they're trying to victimize Asians. Because affirmative action is racist and discriminatory against Asians. Okay, if you happen to have been familiar with the case filed by Asian groups against Harvard University. So Harvard University and these Ivy League schools, New York University, Yale, they've been discriminating against Asians in college entrance admission tests for admission. So this is what this American senator is discussing in this speech, okay? That Joe Biden dropped Joe Biden DOJ or Department of Justice dropped this
glass pyramid was
Asian group's case against Harvard for trying to discriminate against Asians in college entrance examination. But that's going to be another story. Our second reason is the George Floyd effect. So why is it that if you've seen the video that I've shown you so far, you notice or you observe that nobody would like to help these Asians, the elderly woman walking to her church. Okay, the two security guards shut the door. They didn't want to interfere. And Mr. Quintana, the Filipino American, said, I screamed help, but nobody helped me. Why? It's because of the George Floyd effect. And not just George Floyd, but also the Trayvon case. Okay, if you happen to have been familiar with the Zimmerman case, I think Martin Trayvon is a name, who Barack Obama said could have been my son. Okay, because if you're gonna try to help Asians and try to stop the black attacker, what's gonna happen next? They're gonna try to fight you. They're gonna beat you as well. The black attacker is going to divert his attention on you, and it's going to create a commotion. You'd end up fighting, and it's either, if you're fortunate enough, it's either you're able to subdue or to stop the guy or the black attacker, or you're gonna kill him. And if you're gonna kill him in the process or hurt him, the media, the fake news media, the liberal fake news media in America are going to accuse you of being racist. They're gonna try to paint you as white like they did to Zimmerman. Okay, I forgot the name, the full name of Zimmerman. Okay, let me just make sure of this. But I can definitely remember the case of Trayvon versus Zimmerman. Okay, so what CNN did is they tried to paint, Trayvon Martin actually. I switched the name. So Trayvon Martin versus George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman is a Hispanic. So imagine what they can do to you if you're gonna try to stop a black guy, right? They're gonna try to destroy your life. That's the reason why nobody, it's either they are afraid to help or they just don't care. That's the climate or the culture that American white liberals have created so far in most liberal cities and states. So nobody would like to stop a black guy because of fear of being accused of racism, right? Who would do that? Okay, George Floyd effect. Okay, so you're on your own. If you're an Asian and you're in a Democrat city or state, you're on your own. If a black guy is going to hit you or try to kill you, you're definitely gonna die. It's either you're gonna have your limbs and pelvis injured or your face knifed, and nobody's gonna help you. You're on your own because of this climate or culture created by American Democrats and liberals in their attempt to keep their stay in power. These people are power lusters, okay? These people are corrupt. These people are evil. I'm referring to the white liberals and Democrats in America, the white Democrats like Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, okay, Hillary Clinton, and many others. And my third theory is American Democrats and liberals have been historically racist and discriminatory against Asians. So I mentioned the case of Maxine Waters, for example. So do you happen to know or to have heard the LA riots in 1992? So the LA riots is, again, like the George Floyd riots in the United States last year, was fanned and incited by American Democrats in California prior to the 1992 election. So it's always an election year. So do you now understand clearly the trend? So imagine the George Floyd case was fanned and exaggerated and incited by American Democrats months before the 2020 election. It was months before the 2020 election. They had to do it, and we all know, if you did your research, George Floyd was a hardened criminal. He didn't just do the crime once. He's been a criminal all his life, and they had to create a crisis out of George Floyd's death. Okay, and the death, if you've seen the video, it was justified, except that the jury in Minneapolis, Minnesota were afraid. The jury members, they were afraid of the riots because the day before they laid down the verdict, okay, against Derek Chauvin being guilty on all charges. Maxine Waters, the riot queen in America, threatened war or confrontation in the streets. Okay, so they were threatened, the jury members, and the judge of that case lambasted Maxine Waters for her threats. Okay, so they've been doing this for decades. So here is Maxine Waters. What I'm gonna show you is a video of Maxine Waters, again, America's most psychopathic riot queen, inciting riots against Asians in 1992. She incited riots against Asians. So she's like treating these black people as cattle, as her own property. So she was a congresswoman that year. And in America, they don't have term limits. So let's watch the video. So this is again Maxine Waters. Okay, that was 1992 in LA, who was in the process of turning into a liberal utopia from a Republican city and state to a Democrat state. That's how they achieved power in California, through race wars. Don't start any riot yet. Will you work with me? I mean, this woman, this evil creature, is worse than any Filipino politician in the Philippines, really. So this is the aftermath of the riot incited by Maxine Waters and her fellow Democrats in California. Asians and Koreans' properties were destroyed. So you really think that the burning of cities in Portland, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in Kenosha were a recent phenomenon by blacks, and they were incited by the same Democrat politicians in America? No, if you think that, you're stupid. The Democrats have been doing this for decades, and their main victims, okay, their primary victims are Asians. Only recently that they're turning to white people as their new victims, okay, with the invention of the critical race theory. Okay, so these politicians are so evil, but they're so smart
I
as
don't care
well.
about the racism, I don't care anything. But it's not right, okay? It's not right to break inside and get any stuff, you know? It's not right. I don't think it's right.
He and Lee spent last night and will spend.
I don't care about your race. I don't care about your race. That's what he said, because basically he knew that the attackers were black, and there was a stand down. Nobody tried to help them. If you're gonna continue with this video,
Spend tonight guarding his
there
appliance
was a
store.
stand
A
down
small battalion of employees
men.
and relatives will try to help.
laid down by
I only
the.
have one shotgun. That's all I have.
They were abandoned.
What do they have?
This guy is saying, this Korean guy was saying that the city government and the state government abandoned them. The same stand down order that these liberal cities, Democrat cities, and in America exactly did recently. There was a stand down. That's the reason why Florida, the state of Florida, just passed this anti-riot bill, not just to deter, to stop riots from happening in Florida, but also to make these politicians who's gonna order stand down liable and culpable. They're gonna be liable for any, damage to property that riots are gonna cause. That should be the case. If your Democrat politician is gonna order stand down, that they're gonna order that the police is not gonna interfere, then these politicians should be held liable, right?
They have hundreds of great people, hundreds of crazy young people with lots of guns.
After the destruction, many Koreans have lost all faith that the authorities can protect them.
There's a man out here who says we're all trained to shoot. Why? What's the feeling? We'll see. We have no hatred towards black people. We have nothing against anybody. All we wanted to do is work hard.
Observe the questioning of the media. The media was part of this as well. It was part of the discrimination and racism, the liberal media against Asians and Koreans. They were totally abandoned, not just by the government and police, but also by the media.
How to make it like the rest of us, and we know. But people are driving by, shooting at us, and we have to do something about it. There's no police support whatsoever.
And I couldn't just believe why the hell, despite all this racism, despite all these anti-Asian riots and hate, racism, discrimination committed and perpetrated by American black and white liberals against Asian, I couldn't believe that Asians still vote for Democrats. They're voting for the same people who abandoned them. If that is not useful idiocy, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. And another reason, okay, the fourth one is the liberal or Democrat policy of defunding the police. So, Joe Biden, for example, Kamala Harris supported defunding the police. So what they're gonna do, okay? Defunding the police really had an impact on anti-Asian
Give my son 7
climate
vitaminized
in America. So all of this combined with the fact that there is anti-Asian climate or policies implemented by American liberals in America,
Yes, that's right, Matt.
it's no wonder that we're now seeing, the rise of anti-Asian hate and crimes by blacks in the United States, really. And of course, Democrat states freeing criminals. According to New York and California, they freed criminals because of COVID, according to them, while trying to arrest people for not wearing masks. Imagine the stupidity. They're trying to free criminals, and we don't know if those same, black thugs were the very same people freed by Governor Cuomo in California. We don't know. We need, the media should check on that, right? Were the attackers of Mr. Quintana and the Filipina, the 65-year-old Filipina in Manhattan, were they freed, black criminals freed by Governor Cuomo because of COVID? Probably. And that led to the rise of anti-Asian crimes in America, in many Democrat cities and states in America, because the Democrat cities and states let criminals go. The stupidity. And of course, Democrat cities and states police stand down policy. And lastly, I actually mentioned this already, the stand down order by Democrat governments across America. So for fear of being accused of racism, these Democrat politicians do not want to intervene. Okay, they ordered stand down. They don't want to have police interfere, and that is evil. That is really, really unfortunate, because their idiocy and stupidity victimizes Asians. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And this is again Anti-PC Asian vlog. Have a good one to all of you.